The ancient land of India portrays a landscape of vibrant cultural heritage and spiritual mysticism. Each state is unique with its cultural and religious influences. India has been attracting worldwide attention. Kerala, India's most idyllic state, is one of the most sought-after New Age destinations in Asia. Acclaimed as one of the 10 paradises of the world, Kerala, with 100% literacy, is India's most advanced and unique state, with communism and religion moving together in tandem. From this, God's own country, the world received the gift of Saint Alphonsa, an ordinary nun achieving the extraordinary.
He will swallow up death forever, and the Lord God will away tears from all faces. These words of the prophet Isaiah contain the promise which is Saint Alphonsa of the Immaculate Conception. Through a life of extreme physical and spiritual suffering, this exceptional woman, who today is offered to the people of India as their first canonized saint, was convinced that her cross was the very means of reaching the heavenly banquet prepared for her by the Father.
Sister Alphonsa was called Santa Indiana by the whole of Vatican as the Saint of India. There were other 4 persons also to be canonized, but the Vatican, the St. Peter's Square and all the place was filled with Indians. The Indian contingent was led by Union Minister Oscar Fernandes.
As a kid, we used to hear about Sister Alphonsa when I was studying in St. Cecily's Convent, Udupi. Whenever we had a problem, we used to pray to Sister Alphonsa, not only me, the other kids too. Little did I realize that one day I would be leading the Government of India's delegation to the canonization ceremony in Rome.
Bharananganam, a sleepy backwater village consisting of mainly a kilometre-long single street dominated by the towering St. Mary's Forain Church, shot into fame in the wake of the cult of Saint Alphonsa in the 1950s. Saint Alphonsa, a Clarist nun, was beatified on the 8th of February 1986 by His Holiness the Pope at Kottayam, India. She was canonized in Rome on the 12th of October 2008, within 62 years of her death.
It's a matter of pride for our whole nation, whether we are Christians or Hindus or Buddhists or Muslims. Our nation is proud of the fact, especially our nation, which has a highly religious and moral culture and certain religious and moral leadership of the world, that one of her citizens has been raised to the honors of the Catholic altar all over the world.
Alphonsa is the first Indian Catholic woman raised to the status of sainthood. This will be a great recognition of the dignity of women in general and women of India in particular.
Her feast is celebrated on the 28th of July at Bharananganam, with thousands of pilgrims of different creeds and religions flocking to her tomb, seeking her divine intercession. Unknown, unsung, unhonored, she spent a major part of her eventless life on a sickbed in the solitude of a rural convent. One might wonder what heroism is there in such a life, which is eventless, obscure and devoid of any creditable achievements.
God testified to her valuable life of prayer and penance by working miracles after miracles, two of which were certified as miracles, or at least as cannot be explained by modern science, by an international team of doctors.
The story of Jinil is very unique. I can never forget him. I call him the miracle boy. He was brought to me as a 1-month-old child about 11 years ago with a secondary clubfoot, which is very difficult to treat. We tried to correct it by manipulation and serial casting as in done any other case, but it failed. About 2 years later, the child was brought to me. That time he was walking all right without the deformity. When I interrogated, the parents told me a story of a great miracle. You can see the thickened skin, which is very much hyperpigmented. It is blackish in color. That is a telltale evidence of an old deformity with which the child was dragging through on the ground. That has produced this, we call it the callosity, which is gradually disappearing. Let's have the look on the other side also. Here also there is no evidence of the deformity. The foot is straight, the heel is in line with the toes, and the foot size is reasonably good. And also the muscles, muscle bulk, I am surprised to see the normal bulk of the muscle, which is remaining paralyzed the first time I saw the child. There is no scar, nothing. It has become a straight foot without any surgical procedure, without the help of medical science, without the help of doctors.
Born of Joseph and Mary Muttathupadatha on the 19th of August 1910 in a family of Ayurvedic physicians, Alphonsa was a premature child, physically weak and fragile. 8 days after her birth, she was christened at St. Mary's Church at Kudamalur as Anna and affectionately called Anna Kuti.
St. Mary's Foreign Church, Kodamalur, is a very ancient church, established in the year 1125 by a Hindu king called Chambesheri Raja. This church is the very same church where Saint Alphonsa was baptized, and also first communion was administered to her.
She lost her mother in infancy and was brought up by her maternal aunt Theramma at Muttuchira.
Sister Alphonsa സംബന്ധിച്ച് ഇവിടെ സൂക്ഷിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന സാധനങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഞങ്ങളുടെ പിതാവ് വളരെ സ്വകാര്യമായി സൂക്ഷിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയും അത് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ പരിപൂർണമായി നിലനിർത്തുകയും ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നു. ഇവിടെ അൽഫോൻസാമയെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ഈ വീട് വളരെ പരിപാവനമായിട്ടുള്ളതാണ്. അൽഫോൻസാമി മുഖ്യമൂരിൻ്റെ ചാവടിയാണിത്. ഇവിടെ നിന്നാണ് അൽഫോൻസാമ്മ ഭരണങ്ങാനത്തേക്ക് പോയതും ഭരണങ്ങ കന്യാസ്ത്രീയായതിനു ശേഷം 5 പ്രാവശ്യം ഇവിടെ വരികയും ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Her childhood was split between Kudamalur and Muttuchira. Anna Kutti's grandmother, Theramma, a devout Catholic, laid the foundations of her religious life. As Anna Kutti reached 6 years of age, she was brought back to her home to attend the government LP school at Arpukara. Here she met her friend and confidant, Lakshmi Kutti, a Hindu Nair girl.
അമ്മയും അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയും കൂടെ തൊണ്ണൻകുഴി സ്കൂളിൽ ഒന്നിച്ച് 3ാം ക്ലാസ് വരെ പഠിച്ചു. അപ്പം ഇവിടെ റോഡൊന്നുമില്ലായിരുന്നു, തോടായിരുന്നു. അവിടെ ഒരു ചെറിയ കടമ്പയുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആ കടമ്പയെ കൂടിയാണ് അമ്മയും അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയും കൂടെ സ്കൂളിൽ പോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ദിവസം പോയ സമയത്ത് ചേക്കോന്തയുടെ ജോസഫ് എന്നാണ് അവൻ്റെ പേര്. ഇച്ചിരി റൗഡിയായിരുന്നു കൊച്ചിലെ തൊട്ടേ. ആ പുള്ളി കടമ്പയിൽ വെച്ച് അമ്മയും അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയും തള്ളി ഇട്ടു. അപ്പോൾ അമ്മ ഒരു കല്ല് എടുത്തുകൊണ്ട് ഓടി ചെന്ന് കുഞ്ഞിനെ എറിയാൻ ചെന്നു. ചെറിയാൻ ചെന്നപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് അൽഫോൻസാമ്മ പറഞ്ഞു, ലക്ഷ്മിക്കുട്ടി നീ എറിയരുത്, അവന് വേദനിക്കും, നമുക്ക് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് പോരാൻ പറഞ്ഞു. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് അമ്മ എന്നാൽ പിന്നെ വേണ്ട, നമ്മൾ എന്നാ ചെയ്യേണ്ട, സാറിനോട് പറയാമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞു സാറിനോട് പറഞ്ഞാലും അവനെ തല്ലും, അവനെ തല്ലിയാൽ അത് നമുക്ക് വേദനിക്കും, എനിക്കത് കണ്ടു നിൽക്കാൻ പറ്റുമെന്ന് അമ്മയോട് പറഞ്ഞു. ജോസിനെ തല്ലരുതെന്നും സാറിനോട് പറയരുതെന്നും കല്ലെടുത്തത് അവൻ്റെ അപ്പനോട് പറഞ്ഞ് അവനെ തല്ലുമെന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാകുന്നത് അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയുടെ സഹനശക്തിയും മറ്റുള്ളവരോടുള്ള സ്നേഹവും ഇതാണ് ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നത്.
When she was 10, she attended school at Varapalli. When the extraordinarily beautiful Annakutti turned 13, there was a flood of marriage proposals. However, she desired ardently for a religious life, so as to become a saint like Saint Therese of Lisieux. On the day of her betrothal, she stepped into a burning ash pit, intending to disfigure herself slightly, but her feet sank deep into the pit and both her legs got burnt badly. This put an end to all marriage negotiations. She was now free to choose a religious life. She joined the Franciscan Clarist convent at Bharananganam in May 1927, where she told her Mother Superior, Sister Ursula, "Dear Mother, I long to become a nun. There may be many weaknesses and defects in my character. Please correct me and give me the necessary directions so that I may progress in virtue." She received the postulant's veil in 1928 and accepted the name Alphonsa in honor of Saint Alphonsa's Liguri and proceeded to Changanasheri for higher studies.
This was the place where she had her bed. Since she was weak and ill, only she was given a bed. Bleeding was the main sickness she was having. So she couldn't get up and join the community exercises. They decided to send her back to Vatican. At this moment, they consulted Bishop Mar James Kalasheri. He was the then Bishop of Changanasheri Diocese. Knowing about the ardent desire of this novice, Bishop came to the novice mistress and mother and told them, "Let her be here. Don't send her back. If she dies, let her die here."
During her novitiate days, Blessed Kyriakos Elias Chavara appeared to her in a vision and granted her a miraculous cure. On the 19th of May 1930, she received the religious habit at Bharananganam, submitting herself to the will of God. After becoming a nun, she worked as a teacher for a year at Vakkakad. Sister Alphonsa loved children and narrated stories reinforcing the importance of prayer and respect for elders and teachers. She was called the Smiling Sister by her students.
എൻ്റെ പ്രൈമറി വിദ്യാലയം നടത്തിയത് ഈ വാകക്കാട് സ്കൂളിലാണ്. അക്കാലത്ത് തന്നെ 3ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പഠിപ്പിച്ചിരുന്നത് അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയായിരുന്നു. വളരെ സൗമ്യവതിയും സ്നേഹവും കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളോടൊക്കെ വളരെ ഇഷ്ടവും പരിപാലനയും അവരുടെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ വളർച്ചയിലൊക്കെ വളരെ താല്പര്യമുള്ള ഒരു അമ്മയായിരുന്നു.
The last 12 years of her life were marked by unrelieved suffering, which she bore resolutely without any complaint. The more she suffered, the closer it brought her to God.
She's an example for the youth because her patience, humility, the readiness of her mind to forgive others, they are all perfect examples for today's people, because most of us think that we have only one life and why should we waste it for somebody else. And if you look back at her story and the way she lived, you will for once think that maybe there is something ahead of us, and those who seek God, there is a future for them.
Not everybody sympathized with her. She met the harsh words and unsympathetic treatment of her critics with boundless patience and a smile.
Well, it's a well-known fact that quite a good number of nuns did not like her for various reasons. And Sister Alphonsa had to face open hostility from several quarters. Well, they feared that she was suffering from tuberculosis, and they wanted her to be segregated from the community. And they felt that she was receiving more favors from the authorities than she should. And Sister Alphonsa faced all her critics calmly and with a smile. Actually, she was being partial to them. She showed more love towards those people who hated her than to other people. It is as if she was conquering everybody in the convent with love.
For the world outside, she did not exist at all, or was at best just a sickly nun who was mostly bedridden. Her spiritual heroism remained hidden from all, except from those who were close to her.
I had seen Saint Alphonsa from my very childhood itself. When I was studying in the primary school near the convent, very close to Saint Alphonsa's room, we used to see Saint Alphonsa sit on the small veranda and with some other sisters and doing some handwork, making artificial flowers, etc.
In addition to being a saintly person, she was possessed of poetic sensibility, and if you read her writings, not many, you'll be convinced that she had the mind of a poet.
Saint Alphonsa passed away in the order of sanctity on the 28th of July 1946 at the age of 36.
One day when we came to school, that is in 29th July 1946, we saw Saint Alphonsa in the coffin in the chapel, and her face was radiating with a special divine grace. At the time of the funeral, after the prayer in the chapel, her dead body was taken by the sisters itself.
Many relatives were unavailable for her funeral because buses were not available due to the monsoons. So the convent sisters themselves carried her coffin to the church.
അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയിലെ അസാധാരണത്വം ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതുമൂലം അമ്മ ഒരു വിശുദ്ധിയാണെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിട്ടുമുണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ട് പിന്നെ മരിച്ചപ്പം ശവഞ്ചം എടുക്കുന്നതിന് ആൾ കുറവായിരുന്നുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്കും അതൊരു ഭാഗ്യം കിട്ടി. ഞാൻ പോയി ശവഞ്ചം എടുക്കാൻ കൂടി. ആ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ എൻ്റെ ഈ കുരിശും ഇടക്കട്ടെ കിടന്ന കൊന്തയും മോതിരവും ഞാൻ തൊടിച്ചെടുത്തു. അപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് തലക്കയിൽ പിടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നിൽക്കാനുള്ള ഭാഗ്യവും കിട്ടി.
അൽഫോൻസാമ്മ മരിക്കുമ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് 12 വയസ്സേ പ്രായമുണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. അന്ന് ഇതുപോലെ മരിച്ചെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് എഴുത്ത് കിട്ടിയ ഉടനെ ഞങ്ങളുടെ വീട്ടിലെല്ലാവരും ഭയങ്കര കരച്ചിലായിരുന്നു. എൻ്റെ അമ്മ അന്ന് സുഖമില്ലാതെ കിടക്കുമായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം ഞാനും അമ്മച്ചി വേഗം എഴുന്നേറ്റ് എനിക്കും പോകണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ ഞാനും പറഞ്ഞു എന്നെയും കൊണ്ടുപോകണം. അപ്പോൾ ഞാനും എൻ്റെ അമ്മയും അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയുടെ പിതാവും ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു അയൽവാസിയും എൻ്റെ ബന്ധത്തിലൊരു ചിറ്റപ്പനും കൂടെയാണ് ശവടക്കിന് പോയത്. അവിടെ ചെന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞ് അൽഫോൻസാമ്മയുടെ ശവത്തെ മുത്തിയപ്പം ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് തണുത്തിരിക്കുന്നു. ഉടനെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു എൻ്റെ അമ്മച്ചി കൊച്ചമ്മ എപ്പോഴും തണുത്തിരിക്കുന്നല്ലോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. ഞാൻ ഉറക്കെ കരഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ ആ മഠത്തിലിരുന്ന സിസ്റ്റേഴ്സും എൻ്റെ അമ്മയും അമ്മയുടെ അപ്പനും എല്ലാവരും കൂടെ ഭയങ്കര കരച്ചിലായിരുന്നു. എന്നെ സിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് പിടിച്ച് മഠത്തിനകത്തോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോയി. കുറേ കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എന്നെ ചാപ്പലിലോട്ട് വിട്ടത്.
Her spiritual director, Reverend Father Romulus CMI, made a very prophetic funeral speech. He told that this sister is a very extraordinary soul lived in India, and this place will become in future a pilgrim center. So many people from all over India and even all over the world, bishops, cardinals, politicians, all kinds of people will come here and kneel down at her tomb and pray to her. This small village, Bharananganam, will be known all over the world.
We are proud to be in Bharananganam and celebrate the canonization of Sister Alphonsa into Saint Alphonsa today. The people of this great village have now become the torch-bearer of this great soul, Saint Alphonsa. After the death, there had been a flow of people seeking her blessing. This continued till today and will continue till the end of times.
Soon after her death, people began to flock to her tomb, and they had stories of miraculous cures and other favors to tell.
ആദ്യമായിട്ട് ഈ സ്കൂൾ കുട്ടികളാണ് ഈ അൽഫോൻസാമ്മ മരിച്ച് അധികം താമസിക്കാതെ ഒരു കൊല്ലത്തിനകമൊക്കെ ഈ കുട്ടികൾ മരിച്ച് അടക്കിയ സ്ഥലത്ത് ഈ പൂക്കളൊക്കെ കൊണ്ടിടും. പൂക്കൾ കൊണ്ടിടുമ്പോൾ ആ പൂക്കളൊന്നും കരിയാറില്ല. വളരെ ദിവസം കഴിഞ്ഞേ കരിയുള്ളൂ. പെട്ടെന്നൊന്നും കരിയുന്നു. എളുപ്പം കരിയുന്ന പൂക്കളൊക്കെ ആണെങ്കിലും അങ്ങനെ ഉടനെ ഒന്നും കരിയാറില്ലായിരുന്നു. പൂക്കൾ കരിയാതെ ആയപ്പം കുട്ടികൾ തന്നെ പറഞ്ഞു തുടങ്ങി അൽഫോൻസാമ്മ പുണ്യവതിയാണ്, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഈ പൂക്കളൊക്കെ കരിയായിരിക്കുന്നത്, അല്ലേ ഇപ്പം പണ്ട് ഇത് കരിഞ്ഞു പോകേണ്ടതായിരുന്നു.
Far from considering suffering to be an evil to be avoided at all costs, Alphonsa found in them an effective means of satisfaction, underlying the message of love, hope, and faith.
Her heroic virtues of patience, fortitude, and perseverance in the midst of deep suffering remind us that God always provides the strength we need to overcome every trial.
The coming future, there will be a great reception of the person and message of Alphonsa among the youth.
I think Alphonsa, who went through a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, everything, is a really source of inspiration for us.
She is the most important person to us.
Saint Alphonsa belonged to the world, not just India.